have a really, really special guest.
So nice to see you. How are you doing? Okay, my guest today is an extraordinary individual. She's charming, intelligent, humble, and has given more than half of her life in shaping up the politics in Canada. She's the first Muslim woman to be elected to Parliament. I would like to welcome my Honorable Member of Parliament, Yasmin Ratansi.
Thank you, Ekta, and thank you for hosting this program. I read about you, and I think you're doing a marvelous job connecting people here during the COVID crisis. So I am happy to be here and answer any questions.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you here on my show. Let's have a look at the video my team has prepared for you.
Okay. Lots of memories there.
Yes. Ms. Ratansi, yours is an immensely extraordinary journey. You joined politics in 1979 and campaigned for David Colnett. How do you feel about today's politics, and how much has the voter changed in terms of his or her expectations and awareness of things going around?
At 79, I would say up till 79 to 90, there were different times. And we didn't have the plethora of the social media. Mm-hmm. And so let me give you a little analysis. When I joined in 79, I was at the grassroots level trying to engage and advocate. By 1985, I had joined hands with a lot of multicultural groups because we knew that politics was, in different countries, it was a dangerous game. If you came from Iraq or Iran or Bangladesh or wherever, where politicians of opposition parties really faced problems. So we created something called FOLSET, the Federation of Ontario Satellites. And through that, we enabled the election of the first Black MPP, Alvin Curling, and the first South Asian MPP, Murad Velshi. And we said, this would enable people to get engaged in politics. And I am so glad to see the fruition. Now we see a huge diversity in both at the provincial level and at the federal level. Yeah. So what has changed is that the environment in which we are operating has changed. And then I would say up till 2011 even, the social media was not so prevalent. And so now it has become so prevalent that you sneeze and everybody else knows, right? Yeah. So everybody has an opinion on everything. Are those opinions well grounded? Sometimes not. Yeah. Sometimes yes. And through the COVID, there is a lot of, we get a lot of petitions. And those petitions are chain reaction. And I want people to think before they send stuff. So if I were to send you, Ekta, something on Haiti, and you sign it without knowing why you're doing it. So I think people need to be engaged It's good that you're signing a petition. It's good that you're taking some responsibility, but don't do it just as a chain mail, because then I will question you and ask you, what do you want me to do with it?
Yes.
And then nobody knows. So there is this, the change has taken place where I find the discussions are getting a little shallow. We used to, when I was in Parliament with Paul Martin, the discussions were so in depth. We used to discuss the ballistic defense missile. Now people don't even know what it was. It was a shield to protect us from Russia and America killing each other's self. So we had the Prime Minister participate. We had such intense discussions. I am missing that depth of discussions. I'm missing the depth of engagement. So that's what I think people should understand, that social media is not a panacea for real policies.
I agree with you.
Social media is very good. And as a chair of the Canadian branch of the Parliamentary Association, I write articles for the Parliamentarian. And in there, I wrote on social media. So social media has, in areas where, for example, in Uganda, was able to find the head of the Lord's mission. And so social media was good. Social media is good in Hong Kong. We get to know what is going on. Social media has been able to shine lights on the Uyghurs, on Yemen, on everywhere. But then our attention span is so little that we forget.
We should be more responsible as well.
Right.
What we say and what we share on social media.
Right. Oh, you're absolutely right. You have to be careful. You just don't... And young people don't realize that when you put things on social media and you go for a job, it comes to haunt you sometimes. So you're very right. Be judicious. Express your opinion, but in a judicious manner.
Yes, in a more nice way. All right. So as you just talked about Uganda, I know you're the director of CAAF, the Canada Africa Parliamentary Association, and this month we celebrated a Black History Month.
Correct.
Yeah. So I wanted to know, what, apart from the decorations and celebrations, what are the other things you took out benefiting the African people?
So I also participate with civil society. So what I have done is, there is a group of African Canadians of African origin, who have collectively got together and are discussing how to engage within the political process. Africa is a wide continent, and its people are its best resources. And Africa has the fastest youngest growing population. And it is so resourceful. So what could we do to ensure, number one, that Africa is able to stand on its own? That, I look at things that are happening in Congo. I look at things that happened in Rwanda. I look at things that are currently happening in other parts of Africa. And the West should stop pillaging Africa. We're pillaging. Congo is being pillaged for its minerals.
Yeah.
And so tribalism comes up. You from India. If we were to start having warfare between one state and another, based on whether you are from Nepal, or you're from New Delhi, or you're from Ahmedabad, what would happen to India? It would collapse.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening within Africa. We are flaring up tribalism. So my job in this, and people forget that Black History Month, yes, we're celebrating the contributions that have been made by Africans or Canadians of African descent who were brought in as slaves into Canada. We absolutely have to respect and work with them. And it has been my pleasure when I was in Parliament with Jean Augustine. She brought in the Black History Month motion. And what we used to do when she was there is host a breakfast club. After she left, she said, could you take this over? So I would call the police of 33 Division and ask them to bring all marginalized kids to celebrate Black History Month at Parliament Hill. I would pay out of my own pocket their lunch and then host it and bring the Prime Minister to talk to them. And so those were celebrations we could do when there was no COVID. But with COVID now, I make it a point to ensure through my videos, through my participation in civil society, that people understand that the African continent has a lot to contribute.
Yes.
It is actually going to leave us if we are not careful. And so as a chair of the Canadian Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, I focus my energy on Africa. And I ensure, I am born and bred in Tanzania, so I have a very strong affiliation to Africa, a very strong affiliation to Africa. So I do that. But I have Asiatic roots, so I have strong affiliations. My forefathers were born in Gujarat, so I have that connections as well. So I call myself a citizen of the world, and you know what, Ekta, we believe in common humanity. All of us have the same blood running through us. All of us are made through God's will. And so we are diverse people, and that's wonderful. Can you imagine, Ekta, if there was only one plant in the world or one flower in the world? It would not be a wonderful place, would it? So I believe strongly in that diversity. And therefore, in the Black History Month, I ask people to be respectful of diversity. But you forget that February 1st to 7th, is the World Interfaith Harmony Week.
Yes.
This was instituted by the King of Jordan, King Abdullah of Jordan. And I am part of the steering committee of Toronto's World Interfaith Harmony Group. And our first year of doing programs, we got the 3rd award. So we were invited to Jordan to take that award. So
that's an achievement. Congratulations on that. That's why I said you're an extraordinary person.
So Ekta, think, if you combine Black History Month, then you combine the lunar year, combine World Interfaith Harmony. You know, we are multiplicity.
Yes.
And our diversity is our strength, and it's very important that we never lose sight of it.
Yes. You have been in politics for over 40 years and have worked with many prime ministers. Whose policies would you say are in line with yours?
Interestingly enough, I came to Canada because of Pierre Elliott Trudeau.
Okay.
He opened up immigration to countries, non-European countries. And that was what gave me an impetus to move from Britain to Canada. I believe every prime minister has a different approach depending on the environment that they are in. So with Pierre Elliott Trudeau, it was a different environment. With Jean Chrétien, it was a different environment. With Mulroney, I mean, they're conservative prime ministers that I worked with as well. With Mulroney, it was a different environment. With Harper, it was a different environment. With Paul Martin, I mean, I worked very closely with Paul Martin. So I have a very strong affinity to that prime minister because of his work on the indigenous file. He was so concerned. He was so concerned about the environment. And at that time, Minister Dion did the COP21 in Montreal. So, and of course, I talked about the ballistic defense missile systems. All these interesting things were happening. So it was a different environment. Now we are in a different environment. And with the plethora, like I said, of social media, it's like everything has to be instant coffee. It's not instant coffee. It takes time. Decisions take time. Everything has to be thought through carefully. And we are now in a COVID situation. So everyone has worked for the benefit of the Canadian public. Whether you like it or not, that's their mandate.
Yes. Very diplomatic answer, but I like it. Going further about the COVID vaccine 19 in the minority community, there are a lot of apprehension towards getting the vaccine. Will you encourage the community in your riding to get the vaccine?
Actually, I have been looking to all community leaders in my riding, especially in my Flemington area, where people are not coming out of the house. I said, go and have your COVID test at least.
Yes.
Because there are a lot of people in the service industry. There are a lot of people who are delivering newspapers, etc. There are a lot of people in good industries as well who do not have to go to work, but may be going to work. So if you're in a service industry, if you're in a retail industry, if you're in an aerospace industry, or if you're in an auto industry, sometimes you cannot work virtually. So if you can't work virtually, please go get yourself tested. And I was listening to what Ruby was telling you guys. Download the COVID app so that if we don't all collectively download the app, then I don't know whether you have had any contact with anybody with COVID. Even if I have contact with you, until somebody finds out that you have, and then I am being told on my app that Ekta had COVID, and therefore be careful, go get yourself tested. But if we as a collective, as responsible human beings, download that app and ensure that if we are not feeling well, let us not go out, number one, but let's get ourselves tested.
Yes.
People, you know what it reminded me of? Remember the polio vaccine? You were too young. I have been reading about it. I was not there when the polio vaccine came into India during the British time.
Yeah.
And I was reading about how the British had to ask His Highness, the Aga Khan III, that's Sultan Muhammad Shah, to open up Pune Palace, and he took the first vaccine. Once he took the vaccine, everybody else followed suit. So I think we need to give role models and examples saying the vaccine, and people have had bad experience, and they'll tell you that. If you read books on how the Afro-Americans have been treated, mistreated medically, they have a reason. So how do you overcome those things? And I think community leadership, Ekta, you could do it on your television. And I am using my community resources. I've got a lot of people on the ground that I talk to, and I ask them, please go out and communicate in the language. And I think City of Toronto and the province have put it in specific languages. And so we try, but let's tell people it is the most insidious, dangerous disease. It will kill, and we have seen it. So please do not be afraid to take the vaccine when it is available. Actually, I am totally ready to take the vaccine when it is available. I don't want people to jump the line. I have had people, my neighbor is 92 years old, and she lives independently, but she hasn't had a vaccine. And I'd like her to have a vaccine, but only when her doctor tells her it's available. So let's hope the vaccines are here soon, and we will get vaccinated.
That's what I said in the beginning. People are only relying on vaccine as a way to get out of this pandemic, especially the Canadians.
But Ekta, also we need to be wearing our mask. The vaccine is not a protection.
Yes.
The vaccine is not a panacea for our problems. But if we all practice until a time when we are told, yep, now the virus has subsided, who knows what other virus can come up?
Yeah.
Infectious diseases are infectious diseases. We have no control over it, right? So we need to be careful.
Okay. Fun question concerning the controversy that happened in your office of October, November.
Right.
I would like to know your plans for the future. Will you be running again and as an independent?
So I never speculate. I always go by, I am a very focused individual. And the controversy is not a controversy. It has gone through, I think media sometimes is very irresponsible, and particularly this media person did not use journalistic standards. You never, ever, ever use anonymous source. How do you know, Ekta, if somebody's accusing you of something? What? If you don't know your accuser, who are you going to defend yourself against? Number one. Number two, if you were really my employee, why didn't you go to human resources? People don't realize that human resources is available to you. And therefore you go, and they do realize it is available because I know all my, the staff are dealing with human resources. So that's it. I did the best I could because there were circumstances, and that is under, it's a confidential review that's being done. And so I can't really comment about it. But once that is over, I will decide what I'm going to do.
Absolutely. It's all your wish, because you have spent more than half of your life in working for the community in your constituency, working for the people in Canada and all over the world. So it's entirely your wish, and I think you should wait and see what comes up from the decision.
Right.
So we'll all wait for that, and we all look forward to see you again in the constituency. Thank you so much, Miss Ratansi. Sorry, my pronunciation.
Don't worry.
Described as a AAA personality in your neighborhood, in your colleagues. You are a wonderful person to talk to, and you have been doing great in your people in the community around. Just keep doing all the great work you're doing. Thank you very much for coming on my show and for this candid conversation today.
You're most welcome, and thank you, and keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. Stay safe.
Take care. Everyone keep safe, and please keep your physical distance. And please, please be mindful that this is not something like a flu. It is insidious. It is dangerous. So keep well.
Keep well. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Bye.